Imagine for a moment a football team that exists only in the imagination of a child playing a video game. A team where money does not matter, where logic is suspended, where the greatest players on earth, men who are usually rivals competing for the Ballon d'Or, are suddenly wearing the same shirt, sharing the same locker room, and passing the ball to each other. Imagine a team that is part Broadway show, part Hollywood blockbuster, and part tactical chaos. This team actually existed. It was not a dream. It was an experiment that changed the history of sports forever. It was called the Galácticos. For 6 years, between 2000 and 2006, Real Madrid embarked on the most audacious project in the history of football. They tried to assemble the Beatles of sport: Luis Figo, Zinedine Zidane, Ronaldo Nazario, David Beckham. These were not just athletes, they were gods of the modern era. The goal was simple, but terrifying: to build a global brand so powerful that it would transcend the sport itself. They wanted to turn Real Madrid into the Disney or Coca-Cola of football. But like all stories of immense ambition, this one is filled with brilliance and inevitably with tragedy. This is the story of how Real Madrid flew too close to the sun. The story of genius, greed, beauty, and the spectacular collapse of the most expensive team ever assembled. To understand the Galácticos, we must first understand the man who dreamt them into existence: Florentino Pérez. In the summer of 2000, Real Madrid had just won the Champions League, their 8th title. The president at the time, Lorenzo Sanz, felt invincible. He called an early election, believing his victory was guaranteed by the trophies in the cabinet. But Florentino Pérez, a civil engineer and construction magnate, understood something Sanz did not. He understood that football was changing. He saw that the club was drowning in debt, despite the trophies. He knew that the future belonged not just to the winners, but to the richest. Pérez ran a campaign based on a promise that sounded like madness. He told the socios, the club members, that if they elected him, he would steal the captain and best player of their eternal rival, FC Barcelona. He promised to bring Luis Figo to the Santiago Bernabéu. It was an impossible claim. Figo was the idol of Catalonia, the best player in the world. At that moment, Pérez made a deal. Vote for me. If I win and Figo does not come, I will pay for all your season tickets out of my own pocket. It was a gamble of epic proportions. But it worked. Pérez won, and the world held its breath. On July 24, 2000, the impossible happened. Luis Figo was presented with the number 10 shirt of Real Madrid. The transfer fee was a world record, 62 million euros. In Barcelona, the love for Figo turned instantly into a hatred so deep it felt biblical. They burned his jersey in the streets. They called him Judas. When Figo returned to the Camp Nou for the first time in white, the noise was deafening. It was not just booing, it was the sound of 98,000 broken hearts screaming in unison. Objects rained down from the stands: coins, bottles, lighters, and famously, a severed pig's head. Figo had to cover his ears just to think. But amidst that chaos, Florentino Pérez sat in the box, watching. He knew he had done more than sign a player. He had sent a message to the world. Real Madrid could take whatever they wanted. The Galáctico era had begun. But Figo was just the opening act. Pérez had a philosophy: Zidanes y Pavones. The idea was to combine the greatest superstars in the world, the Zidanes, with homegrown talent from the academy, the Pavones. Every summer, he promised one global megastar. In 2001, the target was the artist himself, Zinedine Zidane. Juventus did not want to sell. Why would they? Zidane was the majesty of football, a player who moved with an elegance that defied his physical size. But Pérez had a weapon, the napkin. At a gala dinner in Monte Carlo, Pérez passed a napkin to Zidane with a message written in French. "Do you want to play for Real Madrid?" Zidane wrote back, "Yes." The fee was another world record, 77 million euros. A number so high, it caused moral outrage in the Vatican. People asked, how can a football player be worth the price of a hospital? Pérez's answer was simple. Zidane is not expensive. He is the cheapest player I have ever signed because of what he brings to the brand. Zidane arrived with the weight of the world on his shoulders. For months, he struggled. The press criticized him. They said he was too slow, that he stepped on Figo's space. But then came the night in Glasgow, May 15th, 2002, the Champions League final against Bayer Leverkusen. It was Real Madrid's centenary year, the 100th anniversary. The pressure to win was suffocating. The score was 1-1. The game was tense, ugly, physical. Then, on the stroke of halftime, Roberto Carlos sent a looping, hopeful cross into the sky. The ball hung in the air for what seemed like an eternity. Underneath it, Zinedine Zidane waited. He planted his feet. He watched the ball drop. And then, with a swivel of his hips, he struck a left-footed volley of impossible perfection. The ball screamed into the top corner. It was arguably the greatest goal in the history of finals. That goal justified the millions. That goal defined the era. It was pure art. Real Madrid won La Novena, their 9th European Cup. The project seemed perfect. They had the money and they had the glory. But satisfaction is the enemy of ambition. In the summer of 2002, fresh off winning the World Cup with Brazil, a new target emerged. Ronaldo, the phenomenon, the most explosive striker the world had ever seen. He had conquered injuries that would have ended other careers. He was power and joy personified. His arrival in Madrid turned the city into a circus. Sales of his shirt broke records in hours. On his debut, he came off the bench and scored within 60 seconds. The Bernabeu roared with a sound that was different from before. It was the sound of pure entertainment. With Figo on the right, Zidane in the middle, Raúl up front, and Ronaldo leading the line, Real Madrid played football that looked like an exhibition match. They won La Liga in 2003, playing a style that was arrogant, beautiful, and devastating. But beneath the surface, cracks were forming. Football is not just about attacking, it is about balance. The engine of this team was not a Galáctico. It was a quiet, small Frenchman named Claude Makélélé. He did the dirty work. He ran for Zidane. He tackled for Figo. He covered for Roberto Carlos. He was the cement that held the golden bricks together. In 2003, Makélélé asked for a raise. He saw the superstars earning millions while he was on a normal salary. Florentino Pérez refused. He famously said, "We will not miss Makélélé. He rarely passes the ball more than 3 meters." Makélélé was sold to Chelsea. At the same time, the manager, Vicente Del Bosque, a man who managed egos with the calmness of a grandfather, was fired. Why? Because he wasn't glamorous enough for the new brand. He was too normal. Pérez wanted a Hollywood image on the bench too. This was the moment the project began to die. Zidane later said, "Why put another layer of gold paint on the Bentley if you are selling the entire engine?" Without the engine, the car still looked beautiful, but it couldn't run. Yet, the show had to go on. In 2003, the biggest pop star in football arrived. David Beckham. His signing was the final shift from sport to business. Beckham was a good player, fantastic crosser of the ball, but his position was already occupied by Figo. It didn't matter. Beckham was signed to sell shirts in Asia, to open markets in the USA, to put Real Madrid on the cover of fashion magazines. The presentation of Beckham was watched by millions. The pre-season tours became grueling trips to Tokyo, Beijing, and New York, where players were more like rock stars than athletes, exhausted by photo shoots and interviews. The balance was gone. The Pavones, the young defenders brought in to fill the gaps, were not ready. The team became top-heavy. They could score 3 goals, but they would concede 4. The magic turned into chaos. The 2003 to 2004 season, which started with dreams of a treble, ended in total collapse. Real Madrid lost the Copa del Rey final. They were knocked out of the Champions League by Monaco. They lost their last 5 league games in a row. The Galácticos were human after all. The following years were a desert. Barcelona, led by Ronaldinho, began to rise. Real Madrid changed managers like they changed shirts. Queiroz, Camacho, Luxemburgo, Caro. None could fix the structural flaw. The dressing room became divided. Egos clashed. The players were too powerful, the managers too weak. The Bernabeu, once a place of celebration, became a place of anxiety. The fans whistled. They realized that a collection of stars does not make a constellation if there is no gravity to hold them together. In 2006, the dream ended. Zidane retired after the World Cup. Figo left for Inter Milan. Ronaldo moved to Milan. Beckham went to LA Galaxy. Florentino Pérez, the architect of the dream, resigned, admitting he had spoiled the players. The experiment was officially over. So, was the Galactico era a failure? If you look only at the trophy cabinet between 2003 and 2006, the answer is yes. They underachieved. They wasted years of prime talent due to arrogance and poor planning. They forgot that football is a game of sweat, not just shine. But if you look at the legacy of Real Madrid today, the answer is more complex. Before the Galácticos, Real Madrid was a massive football club. After them, it was the biggest sports brand on earth. Florentino Pérez's strategy saved the club from bankruptcy. He turned the training ground into the most modern city in sports. He multiplied the revenue by 5, then 10. He created the financial muscle that would later allow the club to sign Cristiano Ronaldo and build the modern dynasty. The Galácticos taught football a brutal lesson. They showed that talent alone is not enough. You need structure. You need humility. You need someone to carry the piano, not just people to play it. But they also gave us moments of beauty that will never be repeated. To see Zidane control a ball dropped from the sky, to see Ronaldo accelerate past 3 defenders, to see Figo cross and Beckham strike a free kick. It was a symphony. A flawed, chaotic, imperfect symphony, but a symphony nonetheless. For a brief moment in history, the impossible became real. The video game came to life. And while it ended in tears, for those who watched it, it was the greatest show on earth. Real Madrid proved they could buy the world. Then, they had to learn the hard way how to conquer it again. The Galactico era was not just a chapter in history. It was the moment football lost its innocence and found its modern soul. And at the center of it all, standing in the white storm, was Real Madrid, always ambitious, always dramatic, and always undeniably the center of the universe.
Madrid, unfiltered.